My wife left me on a Thursday. I remember that clearly because Thursday was the day we used to order Chinese food, turn off our phones, and pretend the rest of the world didn't exist. That night, I came home carrying 2 paper bags of food, still warm against my palm. Orange chicken for her. Spicy beef noodles for me. 2 fortune cookies, because Emily always said 1 fortune was never enough for the kind of life she wanted. But when I opened the door, the apartment was too quiet. Not peaceful quiet. Empty quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your chest tighten before your mind understands why. Her shoes were gone from the mat. Her coat was gone from the hook. The little framed photo from our honeymoon in Maine was missing from the shelf. At first, I thought maybe she had gone to her sister's place. Maybe we had argued and I had forgotten. Maybe she needed space. Then, I saw the envelope on the kitchen table. My name was written across the front. Daniel. Not Babe. Not Danny. Daniel. I stood there with the food bags cutting into my fingers, staring at that envelope like it was a loaded gun. Inside were 3 pages. 3 pages that ended my marriage. She wrote that she had tried to love me the way a wife should love her husband. She wrote that I was kind, loyal, dependable. Then she wrote the word that still burned in my memory. But kindness wasn't enough. But loyalty didn't make her feel alive. But dependability wasn't passion. Then came the sentence that shattered the floor beneath me. I'm leaving with Mark. Mark Reynolds. My best friend. The man who had stood beside me at my wedding. The man who had given a speech about how lucky Emily and I were to have found each other. The man who called me brother. I sat at that kitchen table until the food went cold. I read the letter once. Then again. Then a third time. Each time, I kept hoping the words would change. They didn't. Emily had left me for my best friend. And by midnight, I learned the worst part. Everyone knew before I did. My mother called first. Not to comfort me. Not to ask if I was okay. She said, Daniel, don't do anything stupid. Emily and Mark are adults. These things happen. These things happen. That was how my mother described my wife running away with my best friend. My father called 10 minutes later and told me to be a man about it. My younger sister, Rachel, sent one text. I know it hurts, but maybe this is for the best. You and Emily were always too different. Too different. That was funny, because for 6 years, everyone had told me Emily and I were perfect together. Until she chose Mark. Too different. Then suddenly, I was boring. Predictable. Too serious. Not enough. I didn't sleep that night. At 4:17 in the morning, I opened my phone and saw a photo posted online. Emily and Mark. At the airport. Her head on his shoulder. His arm around her waist. Caption, finally choosing happiness. I stared at that picture until my vision blurred. Not because she left. Not only because she left, but because she looked relieved. Like I had been the prison. And Mark was the rescue. 9 years later, she came back to my door holding a secret. But to understand why that secret nearly destroyed me all over again, you need to know what happened after she left. The first month after Emily disappeared, I became a ghost. I went to work. I came home. Thanks for watching. I sat in the dark. I didn't cook. I didn't clean. I didn't answer calls. The apartment still smelled like her perfume in small places. Her side of the closet. The bathroom drawer. The blanket she used on the couch. I hated that scent. I loved that scent. Sometimes I opened the closet just to hurt myself. Mark never called. Not once. That bothered me more than I wanted to admit. I had known him since college. We met during freshman orientation when he borrowed my phone charger and never returned it. He was loud, charming, reckless. The kind of guy who could walk into a room and somehow make everyone feel like they had been waiting for him. I was quieter. I studied. I worked. I planned. Mark joked that I was the responsible one so he could be the interesting one. I thought that was friendship. Now I understood it was a warning. Emily met Mark through me. That was the part that haunted me. I introduced them at a backyard barbecue. She laughed at his jokes that night. I remember feeling proud. Like the 2 most important people in my life got along. I didn't see the beginning of anything. Or maybe I saw it and refused to understand. After Emily left, people chose sides quickly. My family claimed they weren't choosing sides. That meant they chose hers. My mother said Emily had always been emotional and maybe Mark understood her better. My sister said I should not play the victim forever. My father said, a woman doesn't leave a happy marriage. That sentence stayed with me. Because maybe he was right. Maybe Emily hadn't been happy. Maybe I had missed something. But I had been faithful. I had worked double shifts when she wanted to go back to school. I had paid off her credit cards when she cried about drowning in debt. I had held her through panic attacks. I had sat in hospital waiting rooms with her when her mother was sick. I had loved her in the quiet ways I knew how. Maybe that wasn't enough. But it was real. The divorce happened quickly. Emily didn't ask for much. That almost made it worse. She didn't fight for the apartment. She didn't fight for the furniture. She didn't even want the wedding albums. She just wanted out. During the final hearing, she sat 3 rows away from me. Mark sat beside her. My best friend sat beside my wife while she divorced me. When the judge asked if our marriage was irretrievably broken, Emily said yes without hesitation. When it was my turn, I couldn't speak. The judge looked at me with tired eyes. "Mr. Carter?" I swallowed. "Yes." That was the last word I said to Emily for 9 years. After the divorce, I left the city. Not dramatically. Not with some big goodbye. I just packed my car one rainy Sunday morning and drove west. I took a job in Portland at a small logistics company. It paid less, but it was far from every street corner that reminded me of her. I rented a studio apartment above a bakery. For the first 6 months, I survived on coffee, frozen meals, and silence. Then something changed. It wasn't sudden. There was no movie moment where I woke up healed. Healing was ugly. It looked like going to therapy even when I hated it. It looked like deleting old photos one at a time while crying like an idiot. It looked like learning how to sleep in the middle of the bed. It looked like admitting that I had built my entire life around people who could walk away without looking back. My therapist, a blunt woman named Marcia, once asked me, "Who were you before you became useful to everyone else?" I didn't know how to answer. That terrified me. So I started rebuilding. At first, small things. I ran in the mornings. I learned to cook. I bought plants, and somehow kept most of them alive. I took night courses in supply chain management. Then I got promoted. Then promoted again. 3 years after Emily left, I started my own consulting company from that tiny apartment above the bakery. 5 years after she left, I had 12 employees. 7 years after she left, I bought a house with large windows, a quiet backyard, and no ghosts. By the 9th year, Carter Logistics Solutions had offices in 3 states. I wasn't a billionaire. I wasn't trying to become some revenge fantasy. But I was successful. More importantly, I was peaceful. That peace had cost me everything. So when my doorbell rang on a cold November evening, and I opened the door to find Emily standing there, my first thought was simple. No. She looked older. Not old. Just worn by life in a way that expensive clothes couldn't hide. Her hair was shorter now, tucked behind one ear. There were shadows under her eyes. She wore a gray coat and held a leather purse tightly against her side. For 1 second, we just stared at each other. 9 years vanished and returned at the same time. "Daniel," she said. Her voice cracked on my name. I hadn't heard that voice in almost a decade. I should have closed the door. That would have been the smart thing. Instead, I stood frozen. "What are you doing here?" She looked past me into the house, then back at my face. "I know I have no right to come here." "You're correct." She flinched. Good. I wanted her to flinch. Not because I was cruel. Because I needed proof that my pain had weight. She swallowed. "Can we talk?" "No. Please." That word almost got me. Once, Emily's please could undo me. "Please hold me. Please don't be mad. Please believe me. Please stay." I tightened my hand around the door. "You need to leave." She looked down then, and for the first time, I noticed her other hand. She was holding a small blue folder. Not a purse. Not a gift. A folder. My stomach tightened. "What is that?" Emily's eyes filled with tears. "It's why I came." I laughed once. Bitter and short. "After 9 years, you came because of paperwork?" "No. I came because I had to tell you the truth." "The truth?" I said. "You left me a 3-page letter. Seemed pretty clear." "No," she whispered. "It wasn't." I stepped outside and pulled the door mostly shut behind me. The cold air hit my face. "Say what you came to say, then go." She looked like she might collapse. "Mark died 3 months ago." For a moment, I felt nothing. Then, I felt too many things at once. Shock, confusion, an old ache I didn't want. Mark was dead. The man who betrayed me. The friend I once loved like a brother. Dead. How? I asked before I could stop myself. "Liver failure," she said. "He drank for years, more after." She stopped. "After what?" She shook her head. "After everything fell apart." I looked away toward the street. A car passed slowly, headlights sliding across the wet pavement. "I'm sorry he died," I said. "But that has nothing to do with me." Emily clutched the folder tighter. "It does." The way she said it made the air change. I looked back at her. "What secret are you holding, Emily?" She opened the folder with shaking hands and pulled out a photograph. A boy. Maybe 8 or 9. Dark hair. Serious eyes. A small, uncertain smile. I stared at the picture, confused by the sudden pressure in my chest. "This is Noah," she said. I said nothing. "He's 8. The world went very still. My voice came out low. "Don't." Emily started crying. "Daniel." "No," I said. "Do not stand on my porch after 9 years and do this. He's your son." The words hit me harder than any punch could have. For a second, I couldn't hear anything. Not the wind. Not the traffic. Not Emily crying. Just blood rushing in my ears. My son. 8 years old. My son. I stepped back like she had burned me. You're lying. I'm not. You left me for Mark 9 years ago. I found out I was pregnant 6 weeks after I left. My hands curled into fists. And you didn't tell me? I thought he was Mark's. The sentence was a blade. I laughed. But there was no humor in it. You thought. I did. I swear I did. For 8 years? She sobbed harder. Mark knew there was a chance. I didn't want to admit it. He didn't either. I stared at her. And something inside me went cold. You both knew there was a chance. She covered her mouth. You stole 8 years from me. I know. No. I said. My voice shaking now. You don't know. You cannot know what that means. I was scared. I stepped closer. You were scared? I sat in an empty apartment with cold Chinese food reading a letter that said my wife chose my best friend. I watched my family defend you. I rebuilt my life from ashes. And the whole time, somewhere in the world, I had a child? Tears streamed down her face. I'm sorry. That phrase. So small. So useless. I looked at the photograph again. Noah. He had my eyes. I hated that I noticed. I hated that my heart noticed before my mind was ready. Why now? I asked. Emily wiped her face with the back of her hand. Because Mark got sick. Really sick. Noah needed blood work done for something unrelated, and the doctors found out Mark couldn't be his biological father. I felt sick. So Mark knew before he died? Yes. And he let you come here? He asked me to. That nearly made me laugh again. Of course he did. Even dead, Mark sends someone else to clean up his mess. Emily shook her head. He regretted it. I don't care. He did. Daniel. At the end, he kept saying he stole your life. He did. She nodded, crying silently. Then she handed me another paper. DNA results. I didn't take it. I don't need that tonight. Daniel, Noah knows. That stopped me. I looked at her. What does he know? He knows Mark wasn't his father. He knows there may be someone else. Maybe? I didn't tell him your name yet. I almost respected that. Almost. Where is he? At a hotel downtown, with my sister. I looked toward my warm house behind me. My quiet life. My clean, peaceful life. Then I looked at the photo of the boy who might be my son. No. Not might. I knew. Some truths do not need paper. I could see my childhood face in his. The same guarded eyes. The same slight tilt of the head. What do you want from me? I asked. Emily's answer came too quickly. Nothing. That's a lie. She shook her head. I don't want money. Then what? I want Noah to know where he comes from. I stared at her for a long moment. And what about what I want? She looked confused. I hated that too. People like Emily were always so focused on forgiveness that they forgot the betrayed person still had choices. What do you mean? I mean, what if I don't want this? What if I can't do this? What if I don't want to meet a child who reminds me every day of the 2 people who destroyed me? Her face crumpled. I understand. No. You don't. The words came out softer this time. Because suddenly, I wasn't only angry. I was afraid. Afraid of loving him. Afraid of failing him. Afraid that one meeting would split my carefully rebuilt life in half. Emily looked down. I'll go. She handed me the photo and the folder. This time, I took them. Our fingers touched for half a second. Once, that touch had meant home. Now it felt like touching a scar. She turned to leave. Emily. She stopped. I hated myself for asking. What is he like? Her shoulders trembled. Then she turned back with the first real smile I had seen from her that night. He's quiet at first, but funny when he trusts you. He loves space. He reads everything. He hates mushrooms. He builds little cities out of cardboard boxes. I looked down at the photo. Quiet at first. Reads everything. Hates mushrooms. That last one nearly broke me. I hated mushrooms too. Emily whispered. He asks questions like you. My throat closed. I nodded once. I need time. I know. No. You don't contact me. You don't show up again. I'll contact you when I'm ready. She nodded. Then she walked away. I stood on the porch until her car disappeared. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen table again. Different house. Different city. Different life. Same devastation. The folder sat in front of me. Inside were DNA reports, medical records, a copy of Noah's birth certificate, and several photographs. Noah at age 2, holding a toy rocket. Noah at 5, missing one front tooth. Noah at 7, sitting beside a birthday cake shaped like the moon. In every photo, I searched for myself, and found pieces. His eyebrows, his serious expression, the way he stood slightly apart from crowds. At 3 a.m., I called Marcia. My former therapist had retired 2 years earlier, but she once told me if my life ever truly caught fire, I could call. She answered on the 4th ring. Daniel? I have a son, I said. Silence. Then she sighed. Oh honey. That was when I broke. Not on the porch. Not in front of Emily. Not while looking through the folder. I broke when one person finally understood the size of what had been taken. The next 2 weeks were a blur of lawyers, private DNA testing, and sleepless nights. I had my own test done. Not because I doubted. Because I needed the truth in my hands. When the results came back, I stared at one line until the words became meaningless. Probability of paternity. 99.9998%. I was Noah's father. For 8 years, I had been a father without knowing. I wanted to scream. I wanted to drive to Emily's hotel and demand she explain every birthday, every fever, every first step, every school play I missed. Instead, I sat alone in my office and cried where no one could see me. My assistant knocked once. "Mr. Carter, your 2 o'clock is here." I wiped my face. Cancel everything. That afternoon, I called Emily. She answered immediately. "Daniel? I want to meet him." She inhaled sharply. "Okay. But not with you hovering." "I understand." "No, listen to me. This is not about you. It's not about Mark. It's not about your guilt. If I meet Noah, I meet him gently. Slowly. I won't be introduced as his father in some dramatic scene." "I agree. And I want a child therapist involved. Yes, and a lawyer." "Daniel, I'm not fighting you. I don't know what you are anymore." Silence. Then she said, "Fair." We arranged the meeting for Saturday at a quiet park near the river. I arrived 30 minutes early, and still felt late by 8 years. I wore a navy sweater and jeans, then changed into a gray jacket, then nearly canceled. My hands shook in the car. I had negotiated million-dollar contracts without blinking, but the thought of meeting an 8-year-old boy made me feel like I was standing at the edge of a cliff. Then I saw him. Noah walked beside Emily's sister, holding a book against his chest. He was smaller than I expected. Children in photos are frozen. Real children move. They blink. They glance around. They become terrifyingly human. He looked at me from across the path. His eyes narrowed slightly. My eyes. My son had my eyes. I nearly lost my breath. Emily's sister stopped a respectful distance away. "Noah," she said softly, "this is Daniel." Noah looked at me. I crouched slightly, not too close. "Hi, Noah." He didn't answer immediately. Then he said, "Are you the man my mom was scared to tell me about?" I smiled despite the pain. "Probably." He studied me. "Are you mad?" I could have lied. Adults lie to children all the time because they think softness means dishonesty. But Noah's eyes were too sharp. "I'm sad," I said. "And confused. But I'm not mad at you." He nodded like that. Was acceptable. Then he asked, "Do you like space?" I looked at the book in his hand. A children's guide to the solar system. "I do." "What's your favorite planet?" "Saturn." His eyes widened. "Mine too." And just like that, the universe cracked open. We walked by the river for 40 minutes. He talked about planets, black holes, school, and how his mom burned pancakes. He asked what I did for work, whether I had pets, and if I thought aliens were real. I answered every question carefully. Near the end, he looked up at me and said, "Did you know my dad?" I stopped walking. There it was, my dad. Not Mark. Not Daniel. His dad. For 8 years, Mark had been the one at birthdays, at school events, at bedtime. Betrayal did not erase that. I crouched again. "Yes," I said. "I knew Mark." "Were you friends?" 1,000 answers lived in that question. "We were, a long time ago." Noah looked at the river. "He got sick a lot. I heard. He said he was sorry before he died. But he didn't say why." My chest tightened. Sometimes the dead leave debts for the living to collect. "I think adults make mistakes that are too big for children to carry," I said. Noah looked back at me. "So it's not my fault?" My heart broke cleanly in half. "No," I said immediately. "Noah, none of this is your fault. Not one piece of it." His lower lip trembled, but he didn't cry. I wanted to hug him. I didn't. Not yet. At the end of the meeting he said, "Can I see you again?" I had spent 2 weeks terrified that I might not be able to love him. But when he asked that, the answer came from a place deeper than fear. Yes. Emily was waiting by the parking lot. She looked at me with desperate hope. I gave her nothing. Not cruelty. Not comfort. Just a nod. The months that followed were the hardest and most beautiful of my life. Noah and I started with Saturdays, then Wednesday video calls, then Sunday lunches. He visited my house for the first time in January. Before he came, I spent 3 hours child-proofing a house that did not need child-proofing. I bought snacks. Too many snacks. I bought board games, art supplies, and a telescope. When he walked in, he took off his shoes neatly, and looked around like he was entering a museum. "You live alone?" he asked. "Yes." "Is it boring?" "Sometimes." He considered that. "You need a dog." I laughed. "I'll think about it." He wandered into the living room and stopped at the telescope by the window. His face changed. Not a big reaction. Just wonder, quiet and bright. "You got this for me? I thought we could use it together." He touched it carefully. Nobody prepares you for the first time your child looks at you like you did something right. That night, after Emily picked him up, I sat on the floor beside the telescope and cried again. But this time, it wasn't only grief. It was love arriving late and demanding a place to stay. Of course, nothing about the situation stayed simple. My family found out in February. I hadn't spoken to them much in years. After Emily left, their lack of support had done damage I never fully repaired. My mother called me after Emily apparently told Rachel. "Daniel," she said, breathless. "Is it true? You have a son?" I closed my office door. "Yes." "Oh my God, why didn't you tell us?" I almost laughed. "You mean like Emily told me? That's not fair." "No, Mom. What's not fair is that my son is 8, and I just met him." She started crying. "I want to meet my grandson." The word grandson made something ugly rise in me. "You don't get to use that word yet, Daniel." "No. When Emily left me, you told me these things happen. Dad told me to be a man. Rachel said maybe it was for the best. You all treated my pain like an inconvenience. We didn't know about the child. You didn't need to know about a child to care that your son was destroyed." Silence. "Then," she whispered, "I'm sorry." There it was again. Sorry. The cheapest word in the English language when it arrives 9 years late. "I'm not keeping Noah from anyone out of revenge," I said. "But he is not a prize you get because you suddenly feel guilty." My mother cried harder. I felt sad for her. But I did not change my answer. Healing had taught me something. People can regret hurting you and still not be entitled to immediate access to the life you rebuilt. Noah came first. Not my mother's guilt. Not Emily's shame. Not Mark's ghost. Noah. By spring, Noah knew. Not everything. Not the full adult ugliness. But, enough. Emily and I sat with him in a therapist's office with soft chairs and a box of tissues on every table. Emily told him that Daniel was his biological father. I told him he could call me whatever felt right. Noah stared at his shoes for a long time. Then he asked, "Does that mean Mark wasn't my real dad?" Emily started crying. I watched Noah shrink under the weight of her tears, so I answered before she could. "It means you had one dad who raised you and another father who didn't know about you. Love is real. Biology is real. They don't have to erase each other." Noah looked at me. "Can I still miss him?" The question hurt. "Yes," I said. "You're allowed to miss him. Would that make you mad?" "No." He nodded slowly. "What should I call you?" My throat tightened. "Daniel is okay." He looked at me for a long moment. Then he said, "Maybe Daniel for now." "For now is perfect." Emily looked at me then with something like gratitude. I looked away. I wasn't doing it for her. The truth is, co-parenting with the woman who stole my fatherhood was a special kind of torture. Emily tried. I'll give her that. She showed up on time. She shared school updates. She sent photos. She apologized more than once. But some wounds do not close just because the person holding the knife starts crying. One evening, after Noah's school science fair, Emily asked if we could talk outside. Noah had won second place for a model of the solar system that he and I built in my garage. He was inside showing his certificate to his teacher. Emily stood beside me under the school awning, holding her coat closed against the rain. "He looks happy with you," she said. "He is happy when he feels safe." She nodded. "I know you hate me." "I don't hate you." She looked surprised. "I watched rain slide from the roof. Hating you would still make you central to my life. I don't want that." Her eyes filled with tears. "I deserve that." I sighed. "Emily, I don't need you to perform guilt for me. I'm not performing. Then stop making your guilt my responsibility." She wiped her cheek quickly. For once, she didn't argue. After a moment, she said, "Mark wasn't good to me." I looked at her. There was a time when that sentence would have satisfied some wounded part of me. The fantasy that she left me for paradise and found punishment instead. But standing there, with our son inside, I felt no joy. "What do you want me to say?" "Nothing. I just thought you should know." "No," I said. "You wanted me to know because part of you wants it to balance the scales." She lowered her eyes. "Maybe. It doesn't. I know." "No. You don't. Because if Mark had treated you like a queen, what you did would still be wrong. If he treated you badly, it doesn't make me the winner. It just means everyone lost." She cried silently. This time, I almost felt sorry for the woman she had become. Almost. Then Noah burst through the door holding his certificate. "Daniel, my teacher said I can bring the model home." His face was lit with pride. I turned toward him and smiled. "That's great, buddy." "Buddy." The word slipped out. Noah noticed. So did Emily. For a second, everything paused. Then Noah smiled. Not big. But enough. By summer, Noah started spending every other weekend with me. The first full weekend, he arrived with a backpack, 3 books, and a serious expression. "What if I get homesick?" he asked. "Then we call your mom." "What if I have a nightmare?" "Then you wake me up." "What if I don't like your breakfast?" "Then we negotiate." He looked skeptical. Do you burn pancakes too? I do not. Mom says everyone burns pancakes sometimes. Your mom has lowered your expectations. He laughed. That laugh became my favorite sound. We made pancakes the next morning. I burned the first batch. Noah looked at me silently. I pointed the spatula at him. Not a word. He grinned. I wasn't going to say anything. You were thinking it loudly. That weekend, he asked to see pictures of me when I was young. I pulled out an old photo album from a storage box. He sat beside me on the couch, turning pages carefully. When he saw a picture of me at 8 years old, he froze. That looks like me. Yeah. I said softly. It does. He touched the photo. Did you like space too? I liked airplanes. Close enough. Then he leaned against my shoulder. Not dramatically. Not like a movie. Just a small boy, tired and trusting, resting against the father he had only just found. I did not move. I barely breathed. I wanted to preserve that moment exactly as it was. Because sometimes life does not give back what was stolen. Sometimes it gives you something new and asks whether your heart is brave enough to receive it. In August, Noah called me Dad for the first time. It happened at a grocery store. Not during some emotional conversation. Not under perfect lighting. We were in the cereal aisle arguing about whether marshmallow cereal counted as breakfast. I said no. He said technically, cereal was breakfast. I said technically I was the adult. He rolled his eyes and said, Dad, come on. Then he froze. I froze too. A woman nearby reached for oatmeal, completely unaware that the planet had just shifted. Noah looked embarrassed. Sorry. I swallowed hard. You don't have to be sorry. He stared at the cereal boxes. Was that okay? I had imagined this moment many times. I thought I would say something meaningful, something wise. Instead, my voice came out rough. Yeah, buddy, that was okay. He nodded. Then he put the marshmallow cereal in the cart. I let him. That night, after he fell asleep in the guest room that was slowly becoming his room, I stood in the hallway and whispered the word to myself. Dad. I was Dad. Late, wounded, unprepared. But Dad. Not everyone was happy about my growing relationship with Noah. In September, Emily asked to meet for coffee. She looked nervous when I arrived. What's going on? I asked. She stirred her drink without drinking it. I got a job offer. Okay. In Denver. I stared at her. Denver was 2 states away. No. Daniel, no. It's a good opportunity, better pay, better benefits. I need stability. You should have thought about stability before building our son's life on lies. Her face paled. That's not fair. I'm done being fair to adults who keep making Noah pay the price. I'm his mother. And I'm his father. The words came out before I could stop them. But once said, they stood between us like a wall. Emily's eyes filled. I can't stay here forever, just because you came into his life now. I leaned forward. I didn't come into his life now. I was kept out. She flinched. Good. Again, I needed her to feel at least a fraction of the truth. We have a custody agreement in progress, I said. You don't get to move him away because it suits you. I'm not trying to hurt you. This isn't about me. It feels like everything is punishment with you. That made me go still. Punishment? She looked down. I know I deserve anger. But sometimes I feel like you want me to suffer forever. I stared at her for a long time. Then I said quietly, Emily, you still think this story is about whether I forgive you? She didn't answer. It isn't. It's about Noah having the right to know both sides of himself. You took that from him once. You don't get to do it again. She cried. I didn't comfort her. We went to court. I hated every second of it. Not because I feared losing. Because I hated that Noah's life had to be translated into legal language. Parenting plan. Residential schedule. Best interest of the child. Biological father. For 8 years, I hadn't existed on paper. Now paper was the only thing protecting me. The judge was fair. Emily was not allowed to relocate Noah without agreement or further court approval. We were given shared legal custody and a gradual increase in parenting time for me. When it was over, Emily sat outside the courtroom and cried into her hands. I walked past her. Then stopped. Not for her. For the version of myself who had once loved her. You're not losing him, I said. She looked up. You're just not allowed to erase me. Her face crumpled. I know. I nodded and walked away. That winter, Noah spent Christmas morning at my house. I had never cared much about decorating. That year, I became ridiculous. Lights on the porch. A tree too large for the living room. Stockings. Hot chocolate. A ridiculous inflatable snowman in the yard because Noah saw it at the store and said it was scientifically unnecessary but emotionally important. On Christmas Eve, we assembled a telescope upgrade together. At midnight, he fell asleep on the couch under a blanket, one hand still holding the instruction manual. I sat across from him and watched the glow of the Christmas tree lights move across his face. For years, Christmas had been something I endured. A reminder that I had no family I trusted. Now there was a boy sleeping in my living room who had my eyes, and a heart still trying to understand where he belonged. I made a promise that night. Not out loud. Not dramatically. Just quietly. In the deepest part of myself. I would never make him earn love. I would never use him as revenge. I would never let adult pain become his inheritance. The next morning, he gave me a gift. It was wrapped badly in blue paper. Inside was a framed drawing. 2 stick figures standing beside a telescope. Above them, he had written, "Me and Dad looking at Saturn." I turned away quickly. Noah laughed. "Are you crying?" "No. You are." "I'm inspecting the frame." "With your tears?" I pulled him into a hug. This time, he hugged me back fully. No hesitation. No uncertainty. Just my son in my arms. For the first time in 9 years, I felt something I thought had died permanently. Not happiness. Something stronger. Belonging. The final confrontation with Emily came almost a year after she appeared on my porch. It was after Noah's 9th birthday party. We had kept it simple. Pizza, cake, a few friends, a planetarium visit. Emily and I managed to stand in the same room without tension poisoning the air. That itself felt like progress. After everyone left, Noah went to pack his gifts into Emily's car. Emily stayed behind in my kitchen. "There's one more thing I need to tell you," she said. I looked at her sharply. "No more secrets, Emily." "I know." She reached into her purse and pulled out an old envelope. My stomach tightened. "What is that?" "Mark wrote it before he died. He asked me to give it to you." I did not take it. "Why didn't you give it to me before?" "Because I was scared it would make everything worse." I looked at the envelope. My name was written on the front. Daniel. Different handwriting this time. Mark's. For a moment, I was back in that apartment, holding Emily's goodbye letter. "No," I said. Emily blinked. "No? I don't want it." "But he wanted you to. He lost the right to want things from me." She looked down at the envelope. "There may be things in here you should know. Are they about Noah?" "No." "Then I don't need them." She swallowed. I read it. "Of course you did." She flinched. "He said he envied you. That he always did. He said taking me from you made him feel like he finally beat you at something." I felt the words land, but not as deeply as they once would have. Mark had envied me. Mark had wanted to beat me. Mark had mistaken betrayal for victory. And he had died with regret. Once, I might have needed that confession. I might have replayed it like proof that I had not been the fool. But standing in my kitchen, with my son's birthday cake crumbs still on the counter, I realized something important. Mark's truth could not give me back 9 years. His regret could not restore first steps. His envy could not explain away Emily's choices. His letter was not closure. Noah was. I pushed the envelope back toward her. "Burn it. Keep it. Bury it with him." "I don't care." Emily looked stunned. "You really don't want to know?" "I know enough." Her voice was small. "Do you think you'll ever forgive me?" There it was. The question she had carried for a year. Maybe for 9 years. I looked at her for a long time. The woman who had been my wife. The woman who had broken me. The mother of my child. The person who had stolen years from both of us and then, finally, brought the truth to my door. "I don't know," I said honestly. Tears filled her eyes. "But I know this," I continued. "I won't spend the rest of my life trying to punish you." She nodded, crying silently. "And I won't let Noah think love means choosing sides in old wars." "Thank you," she whispered. I shook my head. "Don't thank me, be better." She accepted that. Then Noah came running in, holding a new model rocket. "Dad, can we launch this next weekend?" "Dad." The words still hit me like sunlight through a locked room. I smiled. "Absolutely." He looked at Emily. "Mom, did you see the cake Daniel got? It had Saturn rings." Emily smiled through her tears. "I saw, honey." Noah glanced between us. For a second, I worried he sensed the heaviness. Then he said, "Adults are weird." I laughed. Emily laughed too. And strangely, for that brief moment, it didn't hurt. A year after Emily came back holding a secret, my life looked nothing like I had planned. There were custody calendars on my fridge, school art on my walls, a half-built cardboard space station in my living room, a dog named Comet sleeping by the back door because Noah eventually won that argument. My peaceful life was louder now. Messier. Less controlled. More beautiful. Sometimes I still grieved. Grief does not disappear just because joy arrives. I grieved the baby I never held, the toddler whose first words I never heard, the little boy who learned to ride a bike without me. I grieved birthdays with candles I never lit, nightmares I never comforted, questions I never answered. But I also learned something. Time stolen is still stolen. Nothing makes that fair. But love found late is still love. And I refused to let bitterness steal the years I had left. One Saturday evening, Noah and I stood in the backyard looking through the telescope. The sky was clear, cold, perfect. He adjusted the lens with intense concentration. "I see it," he shouted. "Dad, I see Saturn." I bent down and looked. There it was. Small, bright, ringed with impossible beauty. Noah bounced beside me. Isn't it crazy that something can be so far away and still real? I looked at him. At my son. My miracle. My missing years and my future standing in one small body. Yeah, I said softly. It is. He leaned against me. Do you ever wish Mom told you sooner? The question pierced me. I put my hand on his shoulder. Every day. He was quiet. Then he asked, Are you sad when you look at me? I turned him gently toward me. Noah, listen to me. I'm sad about what I missed. But when I look at you, I'm grateful for what I found. His eyes searched mine. Really? Really? He nodded. Then he hugged me. Under the stars, with my son in my arms, I finally understood something. Emily had come back holding a secret. At first, I thought the secret was Noah. But it wasn't. The real secret was this: sometimes the life you think was destroyed is not the end of your story. Sometimes it is the painful road to the one person you were always meant to love. And sometimes, the greatest revenge is not watching the people who betrayed you suffer. It is becoming whole enough that their betrayal no longer owns you. My wife left me for my best friend. 9 years later, she came back holding a secret. That secret had my eyes. That secret called me Dad. And that secret saved my life.